America leads the world in medicine development. It matters. We get new medicines first, nearly 3 years faster. 5 million Americans go to work because we make medicines here at home. And not relying on other countries keeps us safe. But China is racing to overtake us. Will we let them, or will we choose to stay ahead? When America leads, America cures. Let's tell Washington to keep us in the lead.
Learn how at americacures.com. Paid for by Pharma.
Tires matter. They're the only part of your vehicle that touches the road. Tread confidently with new tires from Tire Rack. Whether you're looking for expert recommendations or know exactly what you want, Tire Rack makes it easy. Fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, and convenient installation options. Go to TireRack.com to see tire test results, tire ratings, and consumer reviews, and be sure to check out all the special offers. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
All right, not the there's a lot of pressure on Daddy-O sitting in the main chair, that being Jeremy today. A lot of pressure. You are in the main seat. You are keeping the show running. And look, not to rattle you a little bit today, because we're going to have fun. It is Friday. The weekend's almost here. But, I mean, the show starts at 9, Jeremy. Like, come on. We're already late.
This was ridiculous.
Come on, we just got a laid-back, cool Daddy-O mentality today. All right, if things run late, they run late.
Now, don't screw it up today. This is a very big day for you. All right, you are in the chair with all the controls. What is the anxiety level? I hear you got here very early this morning.
I did. Got here early, took the early train just to make sure everybody was relaxed. Because as you can tell by my sunglasses, I'm not hiding fear. I'm just super, super chill.
Are there sunglasses for your voice? I hear a trembling.
I plead the fifth.
I've had 3 different people reach out to me, pull me aside, and say, "Hey, Jeremy's a little nervous about today. Be there and support him." And then,
I don't know who's telling you that, because that's simply not true.
Yeah,
his name's on the streets.
Yeah, people are worried about Jeremy, which is actually interesting because he's actually well liked. Outside of his reputation here on the show, people really like Jeremy, so it's actually cute to see. Just because you put on sunglasses, though, doesn't mean like you're going to be in control here. But
cute feels a little patronizing.
I am a firm believer in look good, play good.
So today is a Friday. Things may look a little bit different to you because you will also notice Tony is sitting up front. Tony, no turning around. Do not.
I'm
Tony,
in the voice seat, and I can only look forward. I can't look back.
You look straight forward. You
Dave
do not
Dameshek's
turn
ugly
around.
Mug.
That's right. You are looking straight ahead. That's your... Nope.
But I can't...
Don't turn.
But what if I need to talk to you?
Nope. Straight ahead. Let's say hello to Dave Dameshek, who is out on the West Coast. Hello, Dave.
Yo, what's happening? It's a pleasure to see most of you. Jeremy is masking his emotions. I am in El Segundo, California right now in a production facility, and as nice as the digs are there where you guys sit, these might be even nicer, at least in this regard. Here's the good about the facility where I am. They have a literal shower here. A shower in your place of business. How luxurious. The bad, speaking of masking stuff, is in the bathroom. I was just in there making number one. I wanted to be able to focus in. And I noticed that they have a citrus-scented spray bottle. I feel that masking, that attempt to mask malodorous stuff is, we have to, as a society, advance the ball here a little bit, because whatever we're doing ain't working, and it in fact worsens the situation. How say you?
You know what? I'm gonna spend a little bit of time thinking about it. I didn't know that question was going to be posed to me this morning. I will get back to that, Dave.
Are you pro bad smell?
No, I'm not. No, of course not.
I think the worst smell, the nauseating smell is the worst, the number 2, plus lemon scent. That makes me want to throw up.
Got it.
I mean, the other one ain't good either, but...
Let's also say hello to Trysta, who we did not... Tony, you don't turn around.
I can't see Trysta, too?
You look straight forward. That's your seat today, all right? But let's say hello to Trysta, as we did not expect her to be here with us today. Her stay was only supposed to be for Monday through Thursday. She is here with us today. What happened to you last night?
So I get to the airport. I'm thinking everything's good. We literally see people come off the plane. I'm like, all right, we're happening. This is happening. Talk to the gate agent. They're like, we're about to start pre-board because, this is the trick. You have your service animal, you pre-board. with the people who are, the olds and the youngs.
Do you put a vest on that dude right there?
I can't find a service animal vest this small, but he is doing servicey things. And then all of a sudden I hear a bang. And I'm like, what was that? That wasn't good. And then all of a sudden the flight's canceled. And I find out that the luggage mover crashes into the plane, that's what that bang was, and gets underneath the plane and breaks off an antenna. And they said, well, we're going to try to see if American Airlines will lend us a part.
What, you got any spare parts, American Airlines?
Hey, we'll give you one if you ever have any problems in Portland. And I was like, oh, that's not really good at all. And I called up Kristen, whose birthday it is today, so happy birthday to Kristen. She said, why don't you just come on the show tomorrow? I said, sounds good to me.
So, Buddy who crashes into the plane and causes everyone's night to be ruined and obviously cost the airline money, that guy's getting canned, right? That's a pretty big mistake.
He's fired. That guy's definitely fired.
You would think so, right?
I asked the guy in the luggage area, I said, how often does this happen? He goes, in the 2 years I've been here, not one time.
Now, this is not...
Happy birthday to her. I don't care. Good luck.
Little
All
late.
right. We said it was her birthday.
Bad timing.
Interrupt exactly.
Got to it, though.
Come on, man.
Happy birthday, Kristen.
Now, Trysta, this is not the first time that you have dealt with an issue on the flight home from one of your appearances here, right?
No, the last time I came here, I had a layover in Minneapolis, and I get on the plane with the olds, and I see that there's a couple who is adamant about sitting together. It's a very sad story, so just get ready for it. Brace yourself. And they do end up sitting together. I'm watching my iPad when we are leaving from Minneapolis to Portland. We're midair. And they're doing full-on resuscitation of the man who got onto the plane. He didn't make it.
The couple who wanted to sit together.
Yes, the man with the oxygen tank didn't make it.
All right.
Died right in front of my right foot.
That's way worse than the story about the poop covering smell. That's way worse.
It is, yeah. That's why we just slid right past the citrus.
All right, there you go. So NHL trade deadline today, Dave Dameshek, a way of seamlessly transitioning. Dave, are you as pumped as we are about the NHL trade deadline today?
I'm very excited about it, actually. My team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, is kind of in contention, although they've been on a mini little slide here, so it's going to be very interesting to see if they make moves right now. It also strikes me that around trade deadlines and free agency, the newfangled sports fan of the era in which we live is the one who is overly sober. It's cosplaying general manager when they start to concern themselves with the long-term ramifications of giving up a first-round pick. I like this guy in the conversation. Like, whoa. Is he worth a first-rounder, though? I don't know if we want to give up that to get A.J. Brown, if we want to go all in. It could impact the next few years for our franchise. Hey, guess what? Ain't your concern, fan. Go for it right now. By the way, you should always go for it if you're a sports team, but if you're a fan, you should certainly be rooting for that. Where is this newfound sobriety? Who do these people think they are, that their input about conservative approach to managing the roster of their favorite team? Did anybody ask for their input? Just cheer along. I'm not saying you're not allowed to have an opinion, but it's very weird. I think everybody needs to drink more is the bottom line. I think this is a victim of another element of this generation is that kids these days ain't drinking anymore, apparently. Beer sales, wine sales, booze sales, all down, and we're worse for it.
Okay, so I think we could all agree, though, that the person you're talking about here, the fan who is worried about the future ramifications of giving up X for player Y, we're talking about Jeremy, right?
100%.
1,000%.
Talking about?
Oh, stop. You love it when we get under a tax apron.
Okay.
You're,
tax aprons are never my thing.
Yes, you love it when Andy Ellisberg makes a deal that saves Mickey Arison money. You love that stuff. And it's not even money against a cap. It's money against a tax. You have the same kind of Miami Heat brain rot that the rest of Twitter has.
That's absolutely untrue because the rest of Miami Heat Twitter is like you in thinking that Bam Adebayo is somehow overrated when he's one of the more underrated players of the NBA.
Really? I'm not that dialed in. I'm that much of a tastemaker? They finally came around?
You birthed them, though.
Yeah, you did. You birthed them. You took credit for that several years ago.
Yes, and as you know, I am Heat Twitters as.
Well, and Dave, that's what you're talking about, right? When Jeremy shows up the next morning and is like,
my job is to inform.
You can't make this trade because, it would take you over the second apron. You have to stay under
My job is to tell you that.
Jeremy's who you're talking about,
You
Dave.
love the apron.
I don't want to go at Jeremy, but yes, I'm talking about Jeremy. Or anyone else in his shoes who talks this way about, like I say, the sobriety required to you're just a fan and you want to try to win right now, but I am keeping my eye on the prize, which is the long-term ramifications of all this. Listen, let's just go for it here. I think that's what we as fans should be trying to do here instead of pretending that your tweets or your Instagram posts are somehow going to influence the actual general manager.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on anything that happens with the NHL trade down, specifically the Florida Panthers, right?
Yes, but to close the loop on Jeremy and others like him, the Miami Heat occupy this strange space where everyone's like, all right, we got to keep our draft stockpile, yet they never have these assets. Yeah. It's like for 10 years we've been talking about, well, okay, we can't go after that guy. The next guy, though, will have enough, and yet they don't have enough. They never have as much as the other team.
You're right to an extent because, yes, that has been the Heat's MO, that maneuverability. That maneuverability and flexibility is the Miami Heat's favorite buzzword when it comes to whether or not they're going to make a move. You got to have maneuverability, you got to have flexibility.
Right, but then there's always someone more flexible and someone that maneuvered better.
Well, yeah, because we saw Giannis maybe became available a few weeks ago.
Where did he get traded?
Enough of him, by the way.
Where did he get traded?
Don't want to hear about that guy ever
It wasn't the Heat's lack of assets or flexibility. It was the fact that the Bucks were never serious about trading him.
It was a dog and pony show.
Come on. Well, hold on a second, because for all the talk about maintaining your maneuverability and flexibility, if a player, worth it becomes available, and I think we'd all agree Giannis is that player who would be worth it, the Heat actually did not have enough trade assets because they traded for Terry Rozier 2 seasons ago. I think that's
was
the point
a setup
that
and a scam,
Mike's trying to make.
And they would never get off of Bam. If you need to get Giannis, then you need to get rid of Bam. That's the asset that you have to be open to moving.
But if we are going to,
so that you could be the Bucks.
But look.
See?
You don't turn around either.
Look. Today, we could talk positively about the Heat because they are now 5 games over 500.
Big game.
I understand.
They beat the Nets twice.
I get it.
Big game tonight.
Hey, Tony, if you're a decent team, you kick the crap out of bad teams.
You're right.
And that's what the Heat did this week. But, Kello Ware. You see Kello Ware last night? What do you have?
Kello, no.
7 blocks, 5 steals. Are you kidding me? Kello Ware last night. That was your boy.
He was unbelievable. And he set records. There were, last night, the last 4 players with 15-plus points, 10-plus rebounds, 5-plus steals, 5-plus blocks, and 65% from the field in a game. Dwight Howard, David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Kello Ware.
Are you sure? That's from StatMuse.
Players with 16-plus points, 11-plus rebounds, 5-plus steals, and 7-plus blocks in a game. Hakeem Olajuwon 4 times. Shaq and Kello Ware last night. He's the first player ever with 10, 10, 5, and 5 off the bench. Ever in the history of the league.
I'm feeling a little nostalgic, remembering all the times we did this with Whiteside.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. March is one of those months where we talk about celebrating women, and it's very, very deserved. Because when you actually look around, a lot of women in our lives are carrying a ton. Work, family, relationships, expectations nobody notices or sees. I start thinking about the women around me, my wife, my mom, my sister, my friends, my coworkers, people who somehow take care of everybody else while still trying to hold it together themselves. And it's a ton to carry. Therapy can be a place to put some of that weight down. It can help you figure out what's yours, what isn't, and how to set better boundaries so you're not running on empty all the time. BetterHelp works with fully licensed therapists in the U.S., and they handle the matching process for you. You fill out a short questionnaire, and if your therapist isn't the right fit, you can switch at any time. With more than 30,000 therapists and over 6 million people served, it's the world's largest online therapy platform with an average of 4.9 out of 5 session ratings. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com/DLB. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DLB.
What are you reaching for? If you're a smoker or dipper, you could be reaching for so much more with Zyn nicotine pouches. When you reach for Zyn, you're reaching for 10 satisfying varieties and 2 strengths for a smoke-free and spit-free experience that lets you lean in, for chances to break free from your routine, and a unique nationwide community. Whatever you're reaching for, reach for it with America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Find yours Zyn wherever nicotine products are sold near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Hey, it's Mike Ryan, and I want to talk to you about the random midweek hang that you have with your friends. Maybe it's an NBA game. You get a text, hey, come over, you want to watch the game? And maybe you're like, I don't know. I kind of just wanted to stay home. And then you think about it. After your buddy hits you up, and you know just the thing that'll make that regular hang, that regular midweek hang around the basketball game into a special time, into a Miller time. That's right, this happened to me just last week. I grabbed a 6-pack of Miller Lite, said I was on my way, and next thing you know, we're arguing about rotations like we're on the coaching staff, yelling about a missed call, and the game's coming down to the final possession. It was one of those nights that you look around, you take a sip, and you think, yeah, this was the right call. And my friendship's stronger for it. Cheers to legendary moments with Miller Lite. Great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you. Or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Don Batard.
I've never stepped foot on that campus. If you told me right now your life depends on it, go to Santa Fe University and just take a picture.
Stugotz.
I would die. I don't know where it is.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz.
The difference between what last night was and what we saw from Kalel Ware throughout the rest of the regular season
was the Nets.
It's the Nets, right? But like
it has to be pointed out. Like I loved Kalel what he did last night, but it has to be pointed out. I got to be fair.
Yeah, the counting stats are really not what impressed me. Like what impresses me is the difference in his mindset on defense in terms of communication. Like you can see it on the floor that they're not a worse team significantly defensively when he's out there. He was always putting up the counting stats, but the impact is different. And you saw it last night. Bam had 5 fouls about halfway through the third quarter, and so they had to play Kalel for a stretch of 12 or 13 straight minutes.
The only player who played more minutes than him last night was Jaime Jaquez.
Yeah, he never would have been able to do that earlier in the year. And his impact is great.
Why'd you say that like Walken?
How should I say it?
Jaime Jaquez.
Jaime Jaquez. And I don't say junior, by the way. All right, it's too much. It's too much of a mouthful. You know what I'm saying, Dave? Like Jaime Jaquez. Why do I have to say Jaime Jaquez Jr.? We all know that I'm talking about Jaime Jaquez. Like if I don't say the junior part, are people like, are you talking about him or are you talking about his father? Everybody knows I'm talking about Jaime Jaquez.
I'm more fascinated, to be honest, by the fact that Zaz is so powerful, so influential in his manner that whether or not you guys all realize it from a distance, you all fall into vague impersonations of Zaz.
I'm very
influential
for a full week.
That is definitely
not true.
You guys all
start
Whoa, what do you mean?
mimic his speech pattern.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea what you're saying here.
What do you say? Me? My voice? My cadence? Awesome.
You know, by the way, to go back 4 minutes ago, I'm sorry. I have to say that part of the thing that the NFL has over the other leagues now and why the NBA, I think, has very slightly dipped over the last few years is because people like to get into this pretentious game of like future considerations. If we give this guy up now, we can get a first round or a second round pick, something like that. You know who that is, or at least you can envision what college football player you might get. You don't have that in hockey, in baseball, and now in basketball, because so many of them are European or otherwise. That heightens how pretentious people sound when they start talking about, like, I don't want to give up this power forward because of future considerations. You couldn't name anyone who would be available on planet Earth. You just want the future considerations to have flexibility, as Mike Ryan just described it. I think it's very strange. Now, NHL trade deadline, Bob Bobrovsky may get dealt here today. Where are you guys on that? Are you rooting for him if he does get dealt? Do you hope he proves to be the missing link for whatever team he lands with?
Okay, so like Mike, yesterday, I'm watching the Panthers last night, and by the way, like I think the rest of the season for the Panthers, they lost last night 4-2 at Columbus. I think
Did they get hosed at the end?
Yes, they did. I think the rest of this season is going to get ugly. I think they're really going to bottom out. But I was really proud that they fought back last night. They were down 3-0 in the third period, and they ended up tying the game. Before I answer your question here, Dave, they ended up tying the game at 3 with 5 minutes remaining, and then you have the coach's challenge that there was goaltender interference. And I got to tell you, Mike, for the life of me, it's like what's a catch in the NFL?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
This is getting to be, you're exactly right, Zaz. Hockey isn't as popular, and that's the only thing that insulates it from being in the conversation for the worst foul in any sport. What is goaltender interference already? Can we settle? I'm sorry to interrupt.
I'm pretty sure, like I can see it when the skater does it on their own. But there's this weird gray area that is super inconsistent that you cannot cite precedent because it swings wildly when another skater, a defender, is pushing the opposing skater into the goalie.
And the goalie made no effort to stop the shot. It was like I had a feeling they were going to take it away last night, but I had no idea. And I shouldn't have no idea what the call is going to be.
It almost feels like an intentional move on Columbus's part. To shove the Florida Panther into the goalie because they're absorbing all this pressure. But to the original point of Sergei Bobrovsky, he's out of contract at the end of the season. Wherever he goes, if he is dealt at this trade deadline, it's likely that he's a loner. And I guess the hope is for Panther fans that have an affinity for Sergei Bobrovsky. I think you could look at this rationally and say he's having a bad year. He's up there in age. He's a two-time champion here. He really turned his legacy around down here because he went from being pretty hated with a regrettable contract to being this two-time champion, bona fide Hall of Famer, and that number 72.
Joker. That was his rep.
Yes, always.
Joker.
And now the number 72 is probably going to be hung up in the rafters one day. I still think that you have the outside hope if you're the big Bob fan that he goes to another team, gets hot, you have a rooting interest in the NHL playoffs, and then he's a free agent, and he comes back on a team friendly, which is always a possibility.
Bobby. Never happens.
Well, okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that because I was watching like some clips of hockey shows last night on Twitter, and one of them brought up the idea that the Panthers should trade away Sergei Bobrovsky today, that maybe you can get a first-round pick from him, which I think is crazy. Crazy. But that you trade him, you get whatever compensation, and then he comes back. It's like it's an unwritten thing. You tell Sergei, hey, we're going to trade you over here, and then we're going to offer you this in the offseason. You're going to come back. Like, why can't they do that, Dave?
Bobby. Did somebody just provide an actual example of this happening? Because I cannot recall it off the top of my head. You always hear this conversation, but it never comes true.
You're right.
I'm sure
about
there
that.
are a couple of exceptions that prove the rule.
You're right about that. This was all the talk from Boston Bruins fans last year. However, Brad Marchand's contract negotiations were well written about, whereas down here it could be the media market like that. No one's really been wondering what's going to happen with Bob. Even though he's going to have his jersey retired by this franchise, no one's wondering about his contract status. I think it's pretty well assumed this is a guy that's at the tail end of his career. He's at a hefty number, and I don't know if this market cares as much to make that a narrative throughout the season. But if the Panthers can get something certainly along the lines of a first-round draft pick, you do it. You jump at the chance. But I do think this season's a little sad in that you never really had a chance in retrospect. And they were in a very difficult conference and a very difficult division. And Barkov, I think in his absence, everyone's even got a more profound appreciation for him. But in a weird twist of fate, had a championship celebration at 11. You got the Olympic gold medal. It's a nice consolation prize for a lull of a year, and hopefully they'll be back next year. I'm pretty sure they will be because this core that this team is built on is still young enough to chase.
Bobby. You're right about not really ever having a chance because, it seemed like they were putting something together right before the Winter Classic. Like, I remember having conversations, they're back, and they're going to get Barkov back too. And then Seth Jones got hurt, and it all fell apart. I hope. Now, he does have a 16-team no trade clause. So half the league, more than half the league, Bobrovsky cannot be traded to without his approval. I hope they don't wind up moving him today. I really don't see that there's another team out there. Like, he wouldn't be a starter for a team that's trying to make a Stanley Cup push, because if you're a team trying to make a Stanley Cup push, you presumably have a goaltender this year who's been much better than Sergei Bobrovsky.
Zaz, he would be in Edmonton, and in fact, he could prove the missing piece if he finds
That'd be crazy,
his game,
right?
Well, what I'm interested in is, again, are you rooting for his success if he does get dealt away because he delivered 2 Stanley Cups?
Depends where he goes.
Literally, I think you can make a well. Exactly what I was about to ask you then. LeBron, are you rooting for his success with the Lakers?
Question.
Do you like him? Well, Bobrovsky feels like he came to you a little fraught. We don't know who this guy is. And the next thing you know, you have a couple of Stanley Cups. LeBron shows up, if you didn't hear, and he said not 1, not 2, all the rest of it. And it was probably, I've never asked any of you guys, are you ultimately satisfied with the LeBron era when he was a Heat? And I don't want to have the conversation again. Was he a Heat player? Is he a Hot? Or is he one of the Heats? Whatever he was. If you're satisfied with that, it feels to me from a distance like you probably are vaguely unsatisfied with the way everything wound up. But either way, now he's in LA. Do you think, hey, Heat legend, let's hope he continues to burnish his legacy in honor on some level of our Miami Heats?
Mike, I'm completely satisfied with the way things went with LeBron here, no?
Yeah, the only real issue that I have with it was that he insisted on being traded so the Miami Heat could give him more money on an option that he ended up turning his back on.
Right, we were still paying that move off with draft picks when he was playing for Cleveland.
Right, Miami is in this position in which they never have enough flexibility or maneuverability as much as the next team because they traded for Chris Bosh. They traded for LeBron James because those guys wanted extra years they ended up opting out of. And in LeBron's case, Cleveland rebuilt themselves into an attractive destination for him.
And we're still paying off the debt.
On the heels of his initial, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. So that's what I didn't like. And by the way, the league has learned from that. No one does that shit anymore.
To answer your question, though, Dave, with Bobrovsky, would I cheer for him if he winds up getting traded to a cup contender this year? It very much depends on where he goes. Like, I think the best example is Dwayne Wade. We all love Dwayne Wade. Love Dwayne Wade. And when Dwayne Wade went and signed with the Chicago Bulls, you think I was rooting for the Chicago Bulls? No.
Well, I don't even remember that. I'm pretty sure it never happened.
No. To me, it's about the team, all right? Even if the player is beloved, he's not playing for my team anymore, I don't then root for another team.
Yeah, but look, when you look at the Florida Panthers' chief rivals, the only team that could possibly be in play, because they're all pretty settled at goalie, is the Edmonton Oilers, and they're in the West. And that's kind of a nice little bit of banter for Florida Panthers fans. You only won the Stanley Cup because we didn't make the playoffs, and you had to get our goalie to do it.
Right, Dave. Like, that would be a fun angle where it's like, hey, you know what? You don't even have to beat us because we're not good enough this year to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So you know what? You can only win with our help. There's a little something to that, I think.
Well, even better. What if it goes, let's say this. Bob goes to the Edmonton Oilers. At this point, it feels improbable, but let's say they wind up in the final and they catch the Carolina Canes. Boy, that would be sweet for you guys, right?
Ooh, wait, Carolina.
I would root hard for Edmonton.
If I'm Carolina, I kick the tires on old Bob because their goalie situation, when you get in the playoffs, it's always unsettled over there. They're always trying something new. Carolina's probably more likely because Edmonton's in cap hell. They've already acquired a goalie
Shame
this
the
year.
devil, Mike Ryan. You don't want that. And I would trust whether you're being. See, now you've gone too far in the fan direction, and now you're advocating for that. Or wait, you're not being enough of a fan. You can't trade him to someone. You can't trade him to Carolina.
No, you can't. No,
That's
you
your
can't.
Number one rival, unless Tampa is.
No, I'm with you. I don't think the Panthers entertain that either because I don't think they like Carolina. But if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, look, that front office has been very aggressive. I wouldn't put it past them to consider upgrading at that position. But when we're playing out these scenarios, I don't think he's going to get moved. I think his contract's going to expire.
Whoa. It is the NHL trade deadline. What's going on?
The NHL trade deadline, guys. It never stops. The Colorado Avalanche traded a first and a fifth-round pick to the Toronto Maple Leafs for Nick Roy.
I don't think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, is this Nick Roy or Nick Wah?
It says Roy, so I don't know.
This might be a Wah.
Roy. DraftKings Sportsbook puts you in the middle of basketball's biggest star-driven moments. Bet player props, bet live, and when a game turns fast, DraftKings has your back with early exit. If your player gets injured anytime in the first half, your bet stays alive, and once it settles, you still get paid in cash. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DAN. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's with code DAN. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Whether you bond over streaming binge-worthy videos, watching sports recaps, video gaming, or by unplugging altogether, the 2026 Lincoln Nautilus Hybrid helps keep you connected throughout your journey. Learn more at Lincoln.com. Available connectivity features and functionality vary by model. Package pricing, trials, and term lengths vary by model. Video streaming and games are only available while parked.
Your little one grew 3 inches overnight. Adorable. Also, expensive. Sell their pint-sized pieces on Depop and list them in minutes with no selling fees. Because somewhere, a dad refuses to pay full price for the clothes his kids will outgrow tomorrow. And he's ready to buy your son's entire wardrobe right now. Consider your future growth spurt budget secured. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste. Payment processing fees and boosting fees still apply. See website for details.
Don Batard. Lightning. Panthers. What do you think? Stugotz.
Look at this face while I tell this to you. Okay, because I don't want there to be any kind of confusion. You look me right in the eye. Panthers are going to take that ass, man.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Right back at you, Tony. It's time. Here we go. It's time to play NHL Player Prescription Drug, everybody. Let's get it going. Tony, you may have noticed, as you just experienced, in fact, as it came off your lips, that some names are confusing in the NHL because some of them are Scandinavian, some of them are, from various corners of Europe, and then the names of a lot of prescription drugs these days are very fancy, too fancy, in fact. So let's see if you can identify correctly here.
Hit me, Dave. Let's go.
Rinvoq.
I'll stop you right there. I know Rinvoq. It's a prescription. You got to give me a better one than that.
No, but everybody following
bit.
along. What's the matter with you?
And I'm pretty sure there's music usually with this segment.
Creep.
Jeremy.
It's Jeremy's fault, really. He threw me off.
There's usually music.
I'm working on it.
But yeah, tell me the way you play the game.
Fault. You're the one who just decided.
The music. If the music's supposed to go, and then I'm supposed to talk.
Here's a question. I saw Tony milling around in there just before we got going here. Tony is tall, and he's one of those people who every time I see him, I'm struck by it. I'm like, oh yeah, Tony's tall. Every time I'm in his company. And then I saw him walking around. I was like, oh yeah, Tony is still tall down there. Is Tony, because I know he thinks he's good at football, is Tony good at basketball, or does Tony merely think he's good at basketball?
Today we have to say he's bad because he was on my team and was throwing something as simple as a flip-flop into a garbage can and failed miserably. I'm sorry, Tony. I can't get over it.
From one hooper to another. Wow, I feel
I'm really sorry.
Disgraced by that because I saw your jumper and I thought it was a little bit flat.
It went in.
Went in. But I want to see the height on that. Was that official 10 feet or was that a little bit lower?
That was official.
Dave, me and you should play one-on-one and then we can have that answer.
I don't know what that has to do with anything. You're going to beat a pot-bellied old man.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
It's good music.
Congratulations.
Dave, you hear the hockey player or prescription tune playing, right?
Does he? It's a little low.
I do hear it. Trysta, let's do it. You're up next here.
All right, and learn from Tony's mistake. Let Dave do the whole spiel.
Yes, by the way, I was going to say check icon, Ilka Rinvoq, or rheumatoid arthritis treatment, Rinvoq. Tony already revealed that it is an RX. Here we go, Trysta. Parayko. Blues defenseman with a no-trade clause, Colton Parayko, or Peyronie's disease treatment, Parayko.
I'm going to go Blues player.
Very nice. Blues defenseman who got traded yesterday. They went through the whole thing. They make the deal. They get the terms just so. And then, and only then, does management go to Colton Parayko and say, hey, we just traded you. Are you going to waive your no-trade clause? And he said, nope. And they said, well, then the trade's off. What are we doing? What are we making trades without even he has a no-trade clause. Isn't that the first thing you do before you start bothering, just to save yourself the time?
What gave it away was just too much hockey detail. The no-trade clause, I was like, there's just no way this can be.
I would have thought it was the Peyronie's.
Yeah.
I was helping you out.
I do love, like Dave mentions there, that he was traded, and then they negotiated the deal, and then they go to the player who has a no movement clause, and he says, nah, not trying to go to Buffalo, okay? Like, when Buffalo works so hard and they negotiate the deal and they come to an agreement, and then the team comes back and says, yeah, he said nah. Like, that's got to be so deflating and especially because Buffalo's a really good team this year. It's like so insulting for that team, is it not?
How about Tua? We'll take two off your hands, Miami Dolphins, if you also give us your first-round pick.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Like
that's pretty humiliating for Tua and for the Dolphins who paid him all that money. Well, we'll take him off your hands. You got to give us something worthwhile, too.
Isn't that amazing, though? Like, okay, so the Dolphins gave because I saw that yesterday also. Who knows if it's true? People are making stuff up. But 2 years ago, Tua's out there. Show me the money. Look like a total asshole. But they give him the contract 2 years ago. And now we will trade for this player, but you have to give us a first-round pick.
What is happening there? We've never seen anything like this. What happened to Tua?
He and John Fetterman. Something happened about 18 or 24 months ago, and they fundamentally changed. Tua was this mild-mannered cat, and then all of a sudden he gets bonked on the head one too many times, and he just cannot do anything other than act like he has Wonder Woman's truth lasso around him and just shoot his mouth off like, yeah, it'd be dope not to be anywhere but here in Miami.
Yeah, Dan is always puzzled by what happened to Tua. I'm like, I've seen him like with fencing fingers, like laying on a turf in a prone position, like multiple times now.
I'm telling you, the thing that's confusing to people is the age, because the thing that's if Tua were 5 years old, you'd be like, all right,
let's
he's
stop
worn out.
Let's stop this. Like, he's not even like the most confusing quarterback in the market. Like Kyler Murray, to me, is more confusing because it looked like they nailed it. He looked incredible his rookie season. They blew out Josh Rosen. Kyler Murray looked electric, and we're like, man, he's overcoming the height deficiencies. He's incredible, and it's not like I know he's been hurt some, but with Tua, I know where to go to. With Kyler, it's just like, man, league figured you out in record time.
Quick reminder, by the way, when Kingsbury got that job and they had the number 1 overall pick and they decided we're going to move Josh Rosen because we're going to draft Kyler Murray, they traded him, of course, to the Dolphins. Do you remember, Trysta, what the Dolphins gave up for Josh Rosen?
I don't remember, Zaz.
I remember.
What was it?
Anyone want to offer up what the Dolphins gave? Okay. Anyone want to offer up what the Dolphins gave up for him?
I'm sure there were a lot of people.
I don't remember.
Worried about the long-term ramifications of it.
Yeah, that's right. Chris Greer gave the Cardinals a second-round pick for Josh Rosen.
That's disgusting.
Oh my goodness.
That's actually a win for the Jeremys.
I still believe in Josh Rosen.
Mike Ryan to your point about Kyler and, see what you want to see there kind of effect and the egos of offensive coordinators and head coaches and franchises at large. Like, we can turn this guy around, except for, which seems foolish, except we just saw Sam Darnold do that. New situation, completely different player. Is there a QB that you see that might be, if you just change his situation, Tony weigh in too, or everybody, is there a guy who you could see 1 year from now being like, told you so, see? Just so he had to get out of that bum situation.
Yeah, well, you cited Sam Darnold.
Whoa. The NHL news, it's always on. The Utah Mammoths have acquired Mackenzie Weegar.
It's Weegar.
What?
Okay.
And it's
Uyghur,
Mammoth.
and it's Mammoths.
I think Uyghur is something else.
He knows what he did.
From the Calgary Flames in exchange for Ali Mata and Jonathan Castagna and 3 second-round picks in this year's draft.
I hate Mackenzie Weegar.
That happened yesterday.
Yeah, he's just a blight on the franchise. Just a terrible human being. I felt bad for him. Remember when he even shaved his head? He's like, my hair is the problem. That's why I gave that puck away.
Yep.
Terrible.
I was lying in bed that game 2 against Tampa with COVID. I had the vid, and that's what Mackenzie Weegar did while I was suffering with the vid.
He was a Panther?
Yeah, he was in the Matthew Tkachuk trade.
Is it Castagna? Are we just rolling with that?
I don't think it is. I don't.
What is it? Can you guys tell me?
Is it Castagna?
I think it's Costanza.
I think that Kyler Murray is probably the most interesting prospect. And you could also look at some of the backups. I know Bajent is somebody that interests people because Ben Johnson seems to really like him. And you don't have proof that he stinks, right? So I can see people talking themselves into that upside. But I think Kyler Murray, for example, some of the things that I see on the internet is man, Minnesota should go for him because you mentioned Sam Darnold, head coach over there. Build that career back up. Why can't he do that with Kyler? And he has the weapons downfield. That'd be pretty fun. That'd be a really fun team. Kyler throwing to Jefferson.
So we spent all of the last couple of days talking about the Charlotte Hornets, but we're not going to do that when they're squaring off against the Heat. I just want to get that right. Here in the local hour, we're not going to do that?
Correct.